referring to Darwin's sentence, it is concerned with much more than just baboons' social organization, but to fully comprehend the intelligence that underlies it. Nowadays, using innovative field experiments, scientists learn that reading a baboon's mind affords an excellent grasp of the dynamics of baboon society. But more than that, it bears on the evolution of human mind and the nature of human existence. Moreover, a baboon society has all the features that make them perfect observational model to try to answer the question what the beginnings of humans' evolution pathway could look like. Because it is extremely intriguing to know how much baboons' behavior is instinctive and how much comes from the actual thought. You have to believe me, when you observe the behavior of non-human primates, you get the impression that all of this cannot be accidental. My research concerns the behavioral analysis of baboons in zoological gardens, especially here in Poland. The observations were conducted on two baboon species. The first one was a herd of yellow baboons at the Wrocław Zoological Garden, which are also called the Maasai baboons because they got a little bit slender body than the other baboon species, just like a Maasai people from a Maasai tribe from Africa. And the second one was a herd of Hamadryas baboons at the Warsaw Zoological Garden. And the assumption of this part of my research is the comparison of intra-group communication patterns in these two independent herds of baboons, which are representing a different evolutionary model. Because yellow baboons, a herd of Wrocław Zoological Garden, represents a multi-male, multi-female social system, which is characterized by, for example, a promiscuitism. And let me explain. A promiscuitism is a kind of sexual behavior that any individual in the population can copulate with each other with no limits. So there are actually no boundaries in multi-male, multi-female communities with mating behavior. In turn, the Hamadryas baboons, a herd of the Warsaw Zoological Garden, represents a one male unit social system, which is simply a harem. And a one male unit social system are characterized by presence of alpha male who plays a dominant role in the group and who also monopolizes a group of females that belong to him. The material to this research consisted of two groups of baboons, as I mentioned before. The first one was a herd of yellow baboons at the Wrocław Zoological Garden, and during my observation that was 44 individuals in the population. And the second one was a herd of Hamadryas baboons at the Warsaw Zoological Garden, and during my data sampling that was 25 individuals in the population. And the research was carried out using one of the most basic observational methods used in primatology, I mean data sampling in animals' behavior, which were ad libitum sampling and all occurrences sampling. And the research was directly focused on analysis of three main things: visual, vocal, and gestural intra-group communication patterns of behavior. Let me say something about these methods, because in ad libitum sampling method, you can record any single interaction that seems to be interesting or important for you as an observer. In turn, in all occurrences sampling method, all the interactions of one animal should be recorded during a specified time period, which is called interval. And in my research, I decided to sampling data with within 1 hour intervals. So every single hour I need to note any single interaction that I was able to observe. Sometimes in my research I've decided to use the third one, data sampling method used in animals' behavior, which is focal animal sampling. Especially I use this method to to focus my observation on alpha male in each analyzed herds, especially to know just a little bit more about the head of the population. So, for example, to know if any individual in the population grooms more often alpha male, or maybe it's vice versa or something like that. The results of this comparative analysis of these two independent herds of baboons suggest that there are actually no large differences in behavior in both analyzed species. Possible differences, especially in a frequency of occurrence of individual patterns of behavior, relate to a sexual behavior and were directly related to a different social system. Wrocław and Warsaw baboons use a wide repertoire of vocalization. Actually, all vocal signals in both analyzed herds were recorded at least once, and which in the situation when individual units stay in visual contact for most of the time seems to be unnecessary, because in close distances between individuals the visual signaling is preferred. It is also known that in monkeys community grooming rise to the rank into the major social activity. In the observed herds, grooming was the most common behavior too. For example, the total amount of grooming interactions accounted for over 26% of all behaviors recorded. And what is interesting, it turns out that the females are the sex that is groomed more often, and baboons most willingly groom in heterosexual system. I mean, when a male grooming a female or female grooming a male. And the most often groomed place on baboon's body was the back and the anogenital area, especially during the estrus phase of females, which manifests as tumescence of this anogenital region. So the conclusion from this comparative analysis is that the high adaptability of both analyzed species causes that these artificial breeding conditions only slightly distort the behavior of these animals. And in both analyzed herds, the dominance hierarchy was the strongest among males, and there was a close relationship between the position of the individual and the preferred methods of communication. And finally, all of these messages, all of these intra-group communication patterns relate to some kind of kinesthetic motor behavior. I mean, like all of these gestures, facial expression, body posture influenced the cohesion of the group and determined the importance of the interactions between individuals in the population.